صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والسماء والطارق وما أدراك ما الطارق النجم الثاكب إن كل نفس لما عليها حافظ فلينظر الإنسان مما خلق من ماء دافق يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب إنه على رجعه لقادر يوم تبلى السرائر فما له من قوة ولا ناصر والسماء ذات الرجع والأرض ذات الصدع إنه يقول فصل وما هو بالهزل إنهم يكيدون كيدا وأكيد كيدا فمهل الكافرين أمهلهم رويدا. صلوات. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا أقسم بهذا البلد وأنت حل بهذا البلد ووالد وما ولد لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد أيحسب أن لم يقدر عليه أحد يقول أهلكت مالا لبدا أيحسب أن لم يره أحد ألم نجعل له عينين ولسانا وشفتين وهديناه النجدين فلاقتحم العقبة وما أدراك ما العقبة فك رقبة أو إطعام في يوم ذي مسغبة يتيما ذا مقربة أو مسكينا ذا متربة ثم كان من الذين آمنوا وتواصوا بالصبر وتواصوا بالمرحمة أولئك أصحاب الميمنة والذين كفروا بآياتنا هم أصحاب المشأمة عليهم نار مؤصدة. صدق الله العلي.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلوات وأتم التسليم على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. Seeing that there wasn't any specific occasion surrounding the evenings that we are in now, I thought it would be a good idea to speak about a very important topic, what I think to be a very important topic, and that is, what is akhlaq? I don't think I would even need to explain the expression that all of us usually use, the term akhlaq, but looking within our religious Islamic context, are we really using it the right way? When we do say something like akhlaq, he's got akhlaq, he's bala akhlaq, we should work on our akhlaq. Are we using it the right way? Our understanding, is it correct? As far as our religion is concerned, does religion work without akhlaq? Can you have akhlaq without religion? Does religion necessitate akhlaq? If we can see certain areas, does religion conflict with akhlaq? Does akhlaq conflict with religion? Can you have someone who is religious without akhlaq? Can you have someone who has good akhlaq and no religion? What's the kind of impression, understanding that we need to have in this area? And of course, extending out to trying to have a practical understanding for this, so we're able to implement it in our daily routine as practicing Muslims. Well, initially we know that the primary purpose for the sending of a prophet, or the Prophet of Islam in particular, as he himself had announced, is to complete makarim al-akhlaq, as the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had said, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was sent to fulfill the virtues of morality, which of course makes this akhlaq topic very, very important, seeing that it is the number one priority that the Holy Prophet ﷺ has, completing the makarim of akhlaq of the people. The question is, what is the definition of akhlaq? Unfortunately, what we regularly see is the intertwining usage of terms in places where they should be and places where they should not be used. An example for this is someone who is, of course, very much engaged in haram activity, whatever it may be. I'm not going to use examples, but at the same time you can see that they are very, very generous and kind when it comes to, alaikum salam, very generous and kind when it comes to how they treat their family or their spouse or their neighbors. And then you say that, oh yeah, he is a criminal and he is doing this and he is doing that, but you know, he's got good akhlaq. Or, you know, he's committed every single haram in the world, but as they say, albu tayyib, he's got a good heart, he's got a nice heart. Does that really make sense for us? Here, the mixing between terms is in the way that a person is expressing himself, herself, when it comes to social interaction. That is not called akhlaq, that is called adab, manners, mannerism. And mannerism basically has absolutely nothing to do with the realm of akhlaq in the technical sense that I am referring to. Yes, mannerism comes from that same root word of khuluq, and khuluq means temperament, because even when it comes to your creation as a makhluq, it comes from that same root word as well, kha and lam and qaf. So khalq and khuluq are pretty much the same, with just different as far as the harakat are concerned, but different meanings as well. So with a person's temperament, sometimes their temperament is good in that they have good social interaction, they're nice, they're kind, their gestures are good, they have common courtesy, they smile when they see someone. And that kind of akhlaq, in the loose usage of the word, is related to adab, mannerism in general. Like, for example, someone who is abus, someone who is always frowning, unapproachable. The first thing that you're going to say to someone who's a frowning kind of person is they're unapproachable, is that they're grumpy, they're angry. Unfortunately, some people are like that. Then you have someone else who is the opposite, someone who is, as we say, bashush. The hadith says, al-ibtisam fi wajhi al-mu'min ibadah. Smiling in the face of your fellow believer is an act of worship. When you're interacting with someone, when you're going to greet someone, the overall temperament that you show is that of an approachable person, a kind person, and everything else. You know, even in the Holy Quran, one of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reprimands is that person who abasa wa tawalla and ja'ahul a'ma. So that kind of mannerism is very important for us. You know, not to say that it is not important, but that doesn't define what akhlaq is in the technical, more specific meaning, because akhlaq is more than that. Akhlaq is above that, because akhlaq governs one's religion, which means, can you have religion without akhlaq? Here the answer is no, you can't. You can't have religion without akhlaq. Can you have akhlaq in this meaning without religion? Again, the answer is no, you can't. Can you have certain temperaments without religion? Here the answer is yes. Which means that you can be a non-believer, being an atheist, or maybe even a follower of another religion, but be very kind and polite and everything else, which is wonderful, isn't it? This is also where there's kind of like a mixing when it comes to the words as well, and that is ethics. So here we've used the word morals, we've used the word manners, and here we're going to now use the word ethics. They do intertwine, but they are separate from one another. And ethics is a deeper level than manners. And ethics is all about your practice, your implementing of your understanding of how you need to be dealing or interacting with other people. Implementing of your understanding of society, for example. That's why we say you need to have work ethics, good work ethics, in that you are loyal to or truthful or honest to your client, to your customer. You are someone who has high standards in the delivery of the work that you have. You're a hard worker and all of these other things. Do you need to have deen for that? Again, the answer is no. You can be a person who is a practicing Muslim, but your work ethics is very, very low, if not absent altogether. And if we were to be very honest to ourselves as far as a community is concerned, a Muslim community is concerned, one of the things that we lack, unfortunately, is taking work ethics very seriously. Our work ethics standards as Muslims is very low. And all you need to do is ask someone who has recently, I don't want to give certain examples, and someone might say I'm targeting a certain industry of work, but whatever it may be, purchasing something, getting something done at home, traveling somewhere, whatever it may be, you somehow tend to later on regret and say, well, I really wanted to build that Muslim networking, and I wanted to get one of my fellow Muslim brothers, sisters, and, help them, benefit them financially instead of giving it to someone random. But now all of a sudden I'm really regretting what it is that I did, because if I would have gone to someone else from another background, another religion, they would have delivered what it is that I wanted in the best way, without any hassle, even though I would be maybe spending a little bit more money. So unfortunately, when we want to be critical in the way we evaluate ourselves, our work ethics, unfortunately, is very low, and something that we really, really need to work on. And that's why there's this overall expectation that if you are regularly going to the masjid or something like that, or you've got a beard, or you're a hijabi woman, or whatnot, but you fall short in your work ethics that you do, there's this big condemnation against you, because the expectation is a religious person should have high standards as far as their ethical behavior, the ethical conduct is concerned. But again, that's not really what akhlaq is all about, because the spirit of akhlaq is that which our religion wants from us. The spirit of akhlaq even dominates over our sharia and our fiqh and our ahkam of halal and haram. Which is why there are certain things that could be halal, could be haram, right? But morally it's going to be exactly the opposite. And if in certain cases something could be shar'an, fiqh-wise, halal for you to do, but morally wrong for you to do. This is where we understand that in the religion that we have, maybe 20% of it are things to do with our fiqh and ahkam and halal and haram. But the larger portion is akhlaqiyat and ta'amul, and dealing with other people and how we need to conduct ourselves. What's our main focus usually in the area of ahkam? What's the most common questions that we are usually asked? The area of ahkam. What about your moral understanding of your religion? What about your moral obligations that you have towards yourself or towards others? When this topic is brought up, people start zoning out and they say, well, this is a cliche topic that we regularly hear about, not so interested in wanting to do that. I said this once here before, that when it does come to something like a person's physical appearance, they would go to extremes to change their appearance through cosmetic surgery or through things that are usually done because they're not happy with the way they look. But when it comes to akhlaq and someone points out something to you, the first thing that they say, in most cases of course, the first thing that they say is, well, I am who I am, this is who I am, like it, or what do they say? Leave it. The problem here, of course, is that those things which you should be changing, you're not, and those things which are not important at all, you are very much focused on. And this is where the ugliness of a person's character starts to appear. So what is the definition of al-akhlaq? Akhlaq is taking the midway of two extremes. In our religion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that, what's his name? Ali, Mahdi, children of Akhir al-Zaman. Ali, Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. What was I saying before Ali and Mahdi interrupted me? Definition of akhlaq. In our religion, there are many requirements that we have. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. For example, when you are at war, there are two things that are haram for you to do. The first is for you to be reckless in charging and not following a certain strategy in the battlefield. Ripping off your armor and standing in front of bullets being shot at you, that's being reckless. That's called tahawur. There's nothing proud in that. What's the other extreme of this? Running away from the battlefield or refusing to participate in the war itself, being scared, being a coward, a jaban, right? So these are two extremes. Then we've got the middle. And the middle is shuja'a, bravery, right? You've all heard of these words before, haven't you? What does our religion require from us? Shuja'a, for us to be brave, to have courage. Ilm al-akhlaq or akhlaq is removing, negating, avoiding two extremes in our behavior, in our conduct, and following the midway, the balance, which is, in this case, shuja'a. Any other example can be given in any area when it comes to ilmul akhlaq. So, therefore, when we look at our religion, and our religion that's made up of, number one, entry level is your belief, your aqidah, your faith. Number two, the boundaries of your interaction between you and yourself, between you and God, between you and other human beings, between you and nature, these 4 things. What deals with that? The ahkam, the sharia, halal and haram and things like that. And the third, which dominates all of this, is your akhlaq. And that's why in our ahadith that we have from Ahlul Bayt alayhim wassalam, it says that ultimately on Yawm al-Qiyamah, on Judgment Day, you are going to be held accountable based on your akhlaq. If you have bad akhlaq does not mean bad manners. Here, bad akhlaq means that you have lost that balance that you need to have in your life. Then of course you're not going to be granted with heaven. And so the theoretical side of religion is your belief in Tawheed, belief in Anbiya, belief in A'imma alayhim as-salam. Then the practical side is your akhlaq, the value system that you hold. And so you're no longer going to be swimming on the shallow, on the surface of your religion with the ahkam, which is applicable to everyone. No, you're going to be going deeper down into it when it comes to something like the definition of tawadu', humility, how to be humble. That's a part of akhlaq. How to avoid nifaq, that's a part of akhlaq. Just because someone, is a sweet talker, that doesn't mean that they have good akhlaq. Imam Ali alayhi salam, I'm sure you've come across this statement from Amir al-Mu'mineen in Nahj al-Balagha, where he describes a hypocrite like a snake, saying that when you touch the softness of the snake, it kind of like gives you pleasure because of how soft it is, but yet it is carrying a lethal poison at the same time. So some people are like that. On surface, you see them to be, for example, caring, kind, smiling, and whatnot, but deep inside, they also have a very potent poison ready to strike you at any time. This is why, when it comes to our understanding of akhlaq, we really need to reassess, reevaluate what our understanding of akhlaq is. And most importantly, look into the core of our religion. Should you wish to dive deep into your religion, it's through akhlaq, not through anything else. And should you wish to evaluate someone, you also evaluate them through their akhlaq and not through certain rituals that they might be performing. This is exactly why Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam, he said, don't test, don't evaluate, don't define someone by how much they pray and how much they fast. You test them, you define them, you evaluate them on 2 things: on sidqul hadith wa ada'ul amana, on how truthful they are in their statements and how loyal they are in the observing of amana that they have. Unfortunately, the usual customary way that we deal with things is saying, oh wow, mashallah, they're this, they're praying, they've got this kind of, they've been to Hajj, they've been to ziyarah. That's the kind of shallow, very superficial way that we evaluate ourselves and also others. But unfortunately, there's so many more treasures that are yet for us to discuss that we really need to tap into. My time is finished. I have to rush somewhere else. I did have a few more things that I wanted to say, more on a practical level as far as akhlaq and its relationship with religion, but inshallah I'll probably have to mention that, discuss that in another time. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف خلق الله محمد وآله الطاهرين.